Hank Rourke hadn't meant to stop. Outlaws like him didn't slow down for shadows on the road, especially not near the edge of Calico Ridge, where the law rode faster than rumors and bodies were left for vultures. But when he saw the figure collapsed by the cactus spine, wrapped in rags and quiet as bone dust, something inside him paused. It was nearly dusk. The desert sky bled orange and violet, sharp with heat and silence. Hank's horse, Midas, whinnied low as he dismounted. He approached with one hand on his revolver, the other twitching like it remembered another time. Another girl. But this wasn't memory. This was now. And she was barely breathing. She looked like she'd fallen from the sky and hit every sin on the way down. Bruised, cracked lips, wrists red and raw, blood crusting where it had long dried. Her chest rose in shallow jerks. No sound, no plea. Just waiting. Hank squatted beside her, boots sinking into the dust. He could have kept riding. He should have. But something about the way her hand twitched, like reaching for a name long forgotten, hid a part of him he thought he'd buried. Not under dirt, but under guilt. Old guilt. The kind that followed him like a second shadow. He lifted her slowly, gently, like the desert itself might shatter her. She didn't resist. Couldn't. Her weight was less than expected. Mostly bone and silence. He swung her onto Midas and climbed up behind her, cradling her with one arm as they rode west, away from the road, deeper into the canyon teeth. He knew a place. Old Prospector shack, barely standing, hidden between two dead hills, like a secret too ashamed to speak. He hadn't been there in years, not since the shooting in Santa Fe that left his name smeared in red across 3 counties. But it was safe, for now. The desert was cruel, but it respected the forgotten. The ride was long. She didn't wake, didn't move. Hank checked for breath every mile. When they reached the shack, the wind had picked up. Hot, cruel wind that howled like it mourned something. He carried her inside and laid her on a canvas cot. No blankets, just an old buffalo hide. He lit a lantern, saw her face in full. She was young, maybe 17, maybe less. But her eyes, closed now, were rimmed with purple, and her jaw was clenched, like someone who hadn't known rest in years. He soaked a cloth in the rain barrel and wiped the blood from her forehead. Her skin burned hot. Fever. Infection, maybe. Or dehydration. Hard to tell. He only knew how to make wounds, not mend them. He didn't know what he was doing. He never had. The last person he'd tried to save ended up buried beneath a cottonwood, 2 crosses marking the spot. Wife and daughter, gone before their time. And Hank? He'd never forgiven the world, or himself, for surviving. But this girl was still alive. And something inside him whispered she wasn't meant to die yet. He stayed by her side through the night. Reloaded his revolver twice. Didn't sleep. Just listened. To her breath. To the wind. To the memories clawing their way up his spine. The fever broke around dawn. She stirred, eyes fluttering, lips parting. "Water," she croaked, barely a whisper. Hank brought the cup to her lips. She drank, winced, then fell back. "What's your name?" he asked. "Anna," she said. Simple. No last name. No story. But Hank heard the weight behind it, like the sound of a locked door clicking open. A name that didn't ask to be remembered. A name spoken like a goodbye. "You're safe now," he said. It felt like a lie, but it was the closest thing to truth he'd spoken in years. Anna didn't respond. Just turned her face to the wall, one arm hugging her ribs like she was still trying to hold something inside. A secret, maybe. Or grief, too deep for language. Her silence said more than words ever could. That afternoon, he stepped outside to hunt rabbits. Found none. But he did find something else. Tracks in the dirt. Fresh. 4 horses. Headed this way. Fast. The kind of tracks that didn't meander. They hunted with intent. They'd found him. Or worse, her. He didn't ask questions. Just grabbed his gear, doused the fire, packed what little food he had left, and stepped back inside. Every movement was deliberate. Calm. Like a man who'd already rehearsed this moment 100 times. "They're coming," he said. Anna blinked. She didn't ask who. Didn't have to. Her eyes said she'd run before. Many times. And lost something every time. "You gonna leave me?" she asked. He didn't answer. Just crouched beside her, placed the revolver in her hand, and closed her fingers around it. They trembled, but they held. "If I don't come back," he said, "run west. Stay off the trails. Trust no one, especially men with clean boots and silver tongues." She looked at him. For the first time, really looked. Not like a girl looking at a man, but like a soul looking at a reckoning. The air between them held a stillness that had nothing to do with the wind. "You're not what I thought," she said. Hank didn't smile. "Neither are you." Then he stood, saddled Midas, and rode toward the rising dust, toward ghosts with guns, toward the past. Hank rode hard into the rising heat, the kind that cracked lips and made bullets sweat in their chambers. The trail ahead was nothing but ghost lines on dry rock, but he knew how to read terrain the way priests read scripture, carefully, reverently, like every grain of dirt held a warning. Behind him, he left the cabin, Anna, and whatever this strange twist of mercy was supposed to mean. Ahead of him, trouble, the kind with rifles and rewards. By noon, he was crouched in a canyon notch, watching dust rise from a bend half a mile south. 4 riders, well armed, spread out like hounds, not amateurs, not bounty men either. These were mercenaries, paid for loyalty, not truth. Hank recognized the lead one, Kurt Mallory, ex-Confederate scout turned gun for hire. Kurt had a reputation for cruelty, for burning what he couldn't break. The kind of man who smiled while others screamed. Hank cursed under his breath. If Kurt was here, someone had paid more than silver. Someone wanted Anna found. Alive maybe, or maybe just found. Either way, she wasn't just a stray girl lost in the desert. She was something else, something valuable or dangerous, maybe both. And he had no time left to wonder which. He shifted back down the ridge and made a loop around the bluff. Needed to draw them away from the cabin. He could die out here. Hell, he expected to. But not with her in the crossfire. Not with her still too weak to stand. He'd already buried enough girls. He wasn't adding Anna to that list. He rode east toward Dry Needle Pass, left false tracks, snapped branches, dragged his boot to mimic a limp, anything to keep them guessing. By dusk, he'd counted at least 2 of them following his lead. Good. That meant Anna had a little more time, and time, in these parts, was rarer than water. He camped under a stone arch that night, flame low, mind loud. The stars blinked overhead, cold and ancient. Hank stared up at them but didn't make a wish. He didn't believe in luck. Not anymore. Luck was a lie men told themselves to excuse bad choices. Redemption came slower, if it came at all. He thought of Anna, of the way she'd gripped the revolver like it was the only thing in the world that made sense. Not out of fear or panic, but something deeper, something learned. Someone had once given her a weapon and told her it was justice. That haunted Hank more than any bounty ever could. By dawn, he looped back, circling toward the cabin from the north. If the men were smart, they'd left someone behind. If they were cocky, they hadn't. Either way, he was going to find out. And if it was Kurt, he'd settle that score slow. The sun was just cresting the ridge when Hank spotted movement. A figure standing near the cabin's corner, rifle slung low. Not Kurt, younger, a boy, 16, maybe 17. Skinny, twitchy, too nervous to be seasoned. Probably promised a few silver coins and a chance to prove himself. Hank exhaled through his nose. The world never ran out of boys with guns and empty stomachs. He flanked wide, came up behind the cabin, boots silent on gravel. Waited. The boy stepped closer to the door, knocked once, twice. Anna didn't answer. Smart girl. Hank stepped from the brush, revolver drawn. "Put it down," he said. The boy spun, wide eyes, sweating. He lifted the rifle, shaky hands betraying the fear he tried to hide. "Don't," Hank warned again. The boy fired, missed. Hank's shot was cleaner, a single round to the leg. Not fatal. Didn't need to be. The boy dropped the rifle and screamed, crumpling to the dirt like a scarecrow in wind. Hank moved fast, kicked the weapon away, dragged the kid to the shade of the cabin, tied his wrists with a length of leather cord. "Talk," the boy whimpered. Didn't know her name, just told to watch. "If she runs, follow. If not, bring her back." "Back where?" He swallowed hard. Someplace southeast. Ravine. Camp with fences and dogs. They call it the Hollow. That word made Hank's stomach turn. He'd heard of places like that. Places where people disappeared beneath barbed wire and silence. He left the boy tied to a fence post with a canteen and a warning. If I find you gone when I get back, I'll find you anyway. You won't like it. Inside, Anna sat by the window, gripping the revolver tighter now, both hands. Steadier. You killed him? She asked. No, Hank said. You should have. Hank didn't answer. He didn't disagree either. Anna stared out the window. I remember now. Where I came from. Why they want me back. He waited. They think I belong to them. Bought, marked, promised. But I ran. First chance I got. I ran and didn't stop until I collapsed. She looked down at the revolver. They won't forgive that. They don't let things go. Hank knelt beside her. You're not going back. She looked at him like she wanted to believe it. Outside, the wind shifted, carried the faint scent of sweat, dust, and horses. Not close yet, but not far either. Hank rose, checked the rifle leaning by the door, loaded, ready. He didn't speak again that morning. He just watched the hills. They left at nightfall. Anna could barely walk, but Hank made a crude splint from a broken chair leg and wrapped it tight with strips of canvas. She winced with every step, but didn't complain. That told him everything. The girl had grit, not the kind you're born with. The kind you earn by surviving men who think ownership is a word that belongs in human mouths. She'd seen too much, maybe more than he had. Hank packed light. 2 rifles, 1 revolver, 4 canteens, a pouch of jerky, a Bible he never opened, and a bag of dynamite he hadn't touched in years. No bedrolls, no map, just direction. The Hollow. She'd only spoken the name once, and even then, it felt like a curse. Hank had heard stories, whispers told by dying men, the kind who lost daughters, sisters, lovers to shadows, with sharp teeth and smooth lies. A private gulch deep in the southeastern cliffs, surrounded by rock walls, barbed wire, and worse. The kind of place where screams didn't bounce back. They just disappeared. They rode double on Midas through the starlit flats, across dry creek beds and cracked earth that pulsed with heat even after sundown. Hank avoided roads, stayed low. Twice he spotted riders in the distance, scouts likely, checking for holes in their net. He veered wide. Anna leaned against his back, silent, breathing steady now. Her fever had broken, but what remained in her bones was older than sickness. Trauma with no name. By dawn, they reached a ridge that overlooked the southeast basin. 100 feet below, tucked between canyon arms, sat the Hollow. From above, it looked quiet. Too quiet. A few squat shacks. A central structure with metal siding. Fence lines crisscrossing the compound like scars. Smoke curled from one tin chimney. A windmill creaked, spinning lazy circles like it knew no one inside was free. Watchtowers stood at each corner. Men with rifles. Dogs pacing the inner yard. And then, shadows. Small figures moving between sheds. Bent postures, dirty clothes. Anna stiffened behind him. That's it, she whispered. Her voice trembled, but her spine didn't. How many? He asked. 12. Maybe 13 now. Depends if Willa survived the last beating. Hank clenched his jaw. Every muscle in his face burned with restraint. He counted 10 guards. Likely more inside. He didn't care about odds. Never had. But this wasn't a fight for his name. It was something older. Something cleaner. They made camp in a shallow ravine above the gulch. Hidden. Sheltered by stone. Hank laid out the dynamite, checked fuses, trimmed the cloth on his rifle's barrel. I'll blow the north gate, he said. Draw their fire. You get in through the livestock pens. There's a drainage ditch, right? She nodded. It's where I hid the first time I tried to run. I stayed there 3 nights. Thought maybe God would take me. His eyes met hers. He didn't. No, you did. They didn't talk for a while, just prepared. Loaded rounds, counted breaths. Hank handed her a small compass. You get them out, head south. Don't wait for me. She stared at it. You think I'll leave you behind? I think you'll do what has to be done. She didn't argue. That meant she understood. They waited until dusk. Shadows stretched long and crooked. Hank tied the dynamite into 2 bundles, slung them across his back, kissed Midas between the eyes. If I don't come back, take her to the wash road. She'll know the way. Anna grabbed his wrist. You're not dying tonight. He didn't promise, just handed her the spare revolver, loaded. Then he disappeared into twilight. He moved like smoke, silent, hungry, down the slope, across gravel and brush, through sage so dry it crumbled under boots. He reached the gate. Barbed wire coiled like a question no one wanted to answer, planted charges, low, hidden. From the ridge, a soft whistle, 2 notes. Anna was in. He lit the fuse. Boom! The explosion tore through the evening like judgment. Fire licked the sky. The north gate shattered. Men screamed. Dogs howled. Chaos bloomed like a desert flower, sudden and violent. Hank rose, rifle already braced. Fired once, twice. Dropped 2 men before they could shout orders. He dove behind a trough. More bullets sang past his head. One clipped his coat. Another struck rock an inch from his foot. He kept firing, moved fast, made noise. Made them look at him, not the shadows slipping through the pen. Anna crawled through the drainage ditch, hands scraping against stone and bone. She emerged inside the livestock barn. 3 girls sat in silence, too afraid to even scream. Come on, Anna whispered. We're leaving. Now! One of them backed away, shaking. They said if we try again, they'll hang us by our hair. Anna knelt. They say a lot of things, but they bleed just like we do. She held out her hand. The girl took it. 2 others followed. Anna led them into the dark, hugging the walls, avoiding light. By the time they reached the edge of the fence, gunfire still cracked in every direction. One tower had gone dark. Smoke curled from the barracks. More girls joined. 7, 9, 11. Then, Willa, limping, face swollen. Anna ran to her. I told them you'd come, Willa said, smiling blood. I told you not to wait, Anna whispered. I'm bad at listening. Together they ran. Behind them, the hollow began to burn. The smoke trailed behind them like a funeral hymn. Anna led the girls through the low cut in the canyon wall, ducking beneath jagged stone and over brittle roots. Willa limped, supported on either side by 2 younger girls who refused to let go. None of them spoke. Their silence wasn't fear anymore. It was focus, survival, the kind of quiet that happens when you've lived through too many nights where sound meant pain. Hank was the last one out. He stayed behind as long as he could, giving them time. His arm bled where a bullet had grazed him. His knuckles were raw. One rifle was out of rounds, the other jammed. But he kept moving, kept firing, kept shouting. Made himself a storm they couldn't ignore. One guard tried to circle behind him. Hank caught him with the butt of the revolver and left him coughing teeth into dirt. When he was sure the girls had made it to the ridge, he turned and ran. Not fast, not graceful, but deliberate. He dove into a dry ravine, crawled through thorn brush, and didn't stop until the firelight behind him was a faint flicker against the stars. He collapsed beside a boulder, chest heaving, mouth dry, eyes heavy, but they'd made it out. All of them. At the top of the ridge, Anna waited, revolver still in hand. You look like hell, she said. I'm fine, he muttered, wiping blood from his forehead. No, you're not. She handed him a strip of cloth. He wrapped it around his arm without comment. Below them, the hollow smoldered. Flames devoured walls that had once held cages. Screams still echoed. Not of girls, but of men who thought they were safe behind paywalls and lies. There was no safety left, not tonight. The wind shifted, carrying ash into the sky like black snow. Anna looked back. We can't stop. They'll send more. They'll hunt us. They'll try, Hank said. They moved as one. South, into the trees, into darkness. The next 2 days blurred. Sleep came in snatches, 10 minutes at a time, between shifts keeping watch. Food was scarce. Water, scarcer. Hank shared everything he had. Carried Willa on his back half the time. His wounds reopened. He didn't flinch, not in front of them. He built fires only underground, dug into pits with stones on top. Every sound in the woods could have been a scout, a wolf, or a spirit. But the girls didn't cry. They'd cried enough. Now they just followed the one man who hadn't let them die. On the 3rd night, they reached the old cabin. Anna froze when she saw it. It looks smaller, she said. Hank nodded. Everything does when you've survived worse. Inside, the girls collapsed, some on the floor, others in corners. Willa curled near the hearth, shivering despite the fire. Hank worked quickly. Water, heat, pressure on wounds. He moved like a man who'd done this before, and maybe he had, in another life, one that ended with a grave and a bottle. Anna sat beside him. You saved them. No, he said. You did. She shook her head. I was ready to let go. Back there, in the hollow, I'd made peace with dying. Then you showed up. He stared into the fire. I didn't come to be a hero. I came because I was tired of running. You're still running, she said. Not from the same things. She was quiet. Then, they'll come, won't they? He didn't lie. Yes, maybe tomorrow, maybe a week, but they'll come. So what do we do? Hank looked around the cabin. At the 12 girls. At Anna, the smoke-stained rafters, the blood on his hands. He took a long breath. I turned myself in. Her head snapped up. What? I go to Dustwater, walk through the front gate, give them my name. Her voice cracked. They'll hang you. Maybe. Maybe not. But it buys time, forces attention, brings light to this mess. A man like me showing up in chains. People will talk. Anna's jaw tightened. You don't have to do this. He met her eyes. Calm. Unshaken. Yes, I do. I'm the outlaw. You're the survivor. Let them chase me instead of you. He reached into his coat, pulled out a folded photograph, faded at the edges. A woman holding a child, both smiling like they didn't know what was coming. My wife, my daughter, they died running from men like the ones we just burned down. I did nothing. I let it happen. He folded the picture slowly, deliberately. I won't run again. Anna didn't cry. She just leaned forward and pressed her forehead against his. A silent gesture, not of thanks, but of understanding. You're not what I thought, she whispered. Neither are you. That night, Hank wrote a letter, short, sharp, a confession, but not just his. Names, dates, places. He gave it to Anna. Find someone who still believes the law matters. Give this to them if I don't come back. At dawn, Hank saddled Midas. He didn't wear a gun, didn't need to. As the sun broke over the ridge, he rode alone into Dustwater. Hat low, hands tied, boots dusty from battle. He stopped in front of the sheriff's office and dismounted slow. The deputy looked up from his coffee, blinked, and dropped the cup. Hank Rourke? Yeah, he said, voice dry. The man stood. We thought you were dead. Not yet. Then he raised his hands and waited. Dustwater hadn't seen a scene like it in years. Hank's arrival caused a ripple. A name like his didn't walk into town. It crashed through it. By noon, half the town was outside the jailhouse, murmuring. Some with curiosity, others with fear, a few with memories they'd tried to bury. The sheriff was away on circuit court duty, so Deputy Mays had the honor. He wasn't ready for it. They locked Hank in the single cell at the back. No windows, one cot, a tin cup of water. Mays paced outside the bars, glancing up every 5 seconds like Hank might vanish through stone. You really are him? Mays asked. Hank Rourke? That's what they say. Mays rubbed his face. You're wanted in 3 states. Hank nodded. Then it's about time I stopped running. Word spread fast. By sundown, the judge had returned. By morning, so had 2 marshals, a federal courier, and a local newspaperman with ink-stained fingers and too many questions. Hank didn't answer any, not until they showed him a telegram from Tucson. It was from Marshal Briggs, and it mentioned Anna. Hank read the words 3 times, slowly, then looked up. I'll talk, but I need a deal. They hesitated. You want a pardon? No, Hank said. I want protection. For her, and for 12 girls hiding in a cabin east of the ridge. I want amnesty for them. No questions, no bounty, no papers, just freedom. The judge folded his arms. That's not how this works. Hank leaned forward, voice like gravel. Then rewrite how it works. He handed over a letter, his confession, every detail, every sin, every name, enough to bring down half the men funding Dustwater's darker corners. He included maps, sketches, a list of names with blood beside them. "If I hang, fine," Hank said. "But they walk free. And the men who built the hollow, they burn." Silence. Long. Heavy. Then the judge took the paper without a word. Outside, the wind howled through the boards like it was trying to warn them all. Back at the cabin, Anna stood watch. She hadn't slept since Hank left. The girls were quiet. Willa kept her close. Some braided each other's hair. Others whispered about what came next. Some looked at Anna like she was the only truth left in a world that lied too often. Then came the sound of hooves. Not one rider, not two, 6. Anna grabbed her rifle. But it wasn't mercenaries. It was Marshal Briggs and 5 deputies. Anna met them at the door, rifle firm in hand. "You, Anna?" Briggs asked. "Who's asking?" He smiled faintly. "The man who just got your friend a hearing." He handed her a folded paper. It bore Hank's handwriting. He turned himself in. "Bargained for your freedom." She unfolded it. "Read it once. Twice." Her hands trembled. Briggs watched her face. "He said you might try to come after him. Told me to tell you this. Don't. You've got people to save, not just fight for." Anna didn't answer. She just nodded. Eyes glassy, breath shallow. 2 days later, the girls were escorted to a ranch north of Dustwater, a place run by a widow named Marion Bell, who didn't ask questions and didn't tolerate chains. She fed them, clothed them, gave them cots, and didn't ask where they came from. Anna stayed close, helping the wounded, cooking meals, cleaning wounds like Hank had cleaned hers. She taught them how to gut rabbits, how to boil water with river stones, how to listen for footsteps that don't belong. But every night, she stared west, at Dustwater, at the cell, at the noose she imagined they might be tying. She couldn't sit still. On the morning of the hearing, she saddled a horse and rode. Briggs tried to stop her. "You'll only make it harder for him." "I don't care." She arrived at the courthouse as the sun hit its peak. The streets were lined. People had come from towns she couldn't name. Not to see her, to see the outlaw, to watch justice, or something that looked like it, be served. Hank stood in chains, shoulders back. He looked older, leaner, but not broken. When he saw her, he almost smiled. Almost. She wanted to run to him. She didn't. Inside the courtroom, silence reigned. Hank confessed. Every count, every crime. But he didn't beg. When asked why he turned himself in, he said, "Because some things matter more than surviving. Like making sure what happened to my daughter doesn't happen to anyone else's." The judge stared a long time. Then something strange happened. He didn't sentence Hank to death. Not yet. He ordered a delay, called for an investigation, cited the testimony and the evidence in Hank's letter. Said if it all checked out, if the Hollow's men could be found and brought in, then Hank's fate would be revisited. No cheers, no boos, just murmurs. Outside, Anna found him in chains. She reached for his hand. He didn't pull away. "You still think it was worth it?" she asked. "I do now." Then she leaned in and whispered, "We're not done." Hank smiled for real that time. "No," he said, "we're not." They held him in Dustwater for 12 more days. Each morning began with questions, some from lawmen, others from men with notebooks and hungry eyes. Hank gave them what they wanted, but never more than what mattered. He didn't dress it up, didn't twist the facts to make himself look better. He wasn't looking to be redeemed. He was trying to finish something. At night, the silence in his cell pressed down like stone. There were no stars through the narrow, barred window, only the reflection of what he'd done and what was left to do. He traced scars with his fingers, counted them. Not all were on his skin. Some bled deeper. Meanwhile, Anna didn't wait. She rode south with Briggs and 2 deputies, guiding them across the dry wash valleys, through the spines of canyons, to where the hollow once stood like a secret no one wanted to find. They arrived in the blue-gray of dawn. What was left of the place was a scar on the earth, charred lumber, collapsed fences, ash where cruelty had made a home, but the bones of it still whispered, chains buried in sand. Ledgers locked in iron boxes, soot-covered cages that had once held girls whose names were now written in Anna's voice. Briggs found documents, purchase slips, transport logs, coded telegrams. He read them without blinking, jaw locked. His men unearthed unmarked graves, 14 in total, some no bigger than a cradle. Anna watched him drop to his knees at the third one, hat clenched to his chest. None of them spoke on the ride back. Dustwater changed in their absence. Whispers turned to meetings behind closed doors. Names once revered began to rot in public opinion. A clerk quit and took a ledger with him. A preacher broke down in tears during a sermon and named names. It turned out everyone had known a little, but no one had wanted to know too much. Then came Anna's testimony. She stood in the courthouse, head high, shoulders square. Willa beside her, the girls behind her. She didn't cry. She spoke slow, steady, like someone who had learned the price of silence. Her words cut through that room like sunlight through fog, and when she finished, no one clapped. They couldn't. They just stared, because they understood. That night, Hank sat in his cell, tracing the grain of the wooden bench. He knew something had shifted. He could feel it in the way Mays no longer avoided eye contact, in the way townsfolk walked slower past his window. He wasn't forgiven, but he was seen. On the 13th morning, the cell door opened. Briggs entered, dust on his coat, eyes red. It's done. Hank rose slowly, as if movement itself might betray belief. How bad? Worse than you said. Briggs handed him a letter. Thick seal, official, stamped with more weight than a bullet. A pardon, full. On one condition, he testify in every court, every city, every place where shadows still moved unchecked. He would name names, speak truth, tear the rot out at the roots. Hank nodded. Fair. As he stepped outside, sunlight hit his face like something unfamiliar. The town didn't cheer. They didn't jeer either. Just watched. Some with suspicion, some with something softer, but no one turned away. Out past the general store, Anna waited. She stood next to Midas, brushing his mane, eyes narrowed against the wind. When Hank approached, she didn't smile, didn't flinch. She just handed him the reins. You fed him, he said. He bit everyone else. They stood in the road, the two of them, surrounded by townsfolk who didn't understand the language of shared survival. Hank looked back at the jail, then forward toward the hills. You still planning to disappear? Anna asked. I was, he said. But you've always had a way of interrupting plans. She mounted up. There are still places like the Hollow. I know. They still have names we don't know, girls we haven't found. I know. And what are you doing standing still? Hank smiled, soft and crooked. Waiting for you. They rode out slow, not fleeing, not chasing, just riding. Through the edge of Dustwater, where people paused to watch and remember that sometimes stories didn't end in flames or gallows. They ended with two figures disappearing into the heat shimmer of the horizon, carried by dust and promise. At the first ridge, Anna turned to him. What if they come after us? They won't, Hank said. But if they do, he looked to the sky. Then we ride harder, fight louder. The wind picked up. Somewhere behind them, the courthouse bell tolled. Somewhere ahead, thunder cracked. And just for a moment, the air smelled like rain.